I want to dip in and listen in to the Prime Minister playing the drums right now. What a magnificent drone shot of the historic Somnath temple, the place where it was constructed. And as Sumedha Verma ji was just pointing out, that it was a marker. And Prabhas Patan, this area in Veeraval in Gujarat, in Saurashtra, was so well known from the time of the Rigved, from the Indus Valley civilization or the Sindhu Ghati ki Sabhyata, through Ramayana, Mahabharata, and now when you look at all of these images, is that an effort so that future generations also know about the importance of Somnath, and it's not just relegated as one more temple town in India, as Ayodhya had for a very long time?
Yes, yes. You are absolutely right, Gaurav, and it gives me a great sense of, what your name is, Gaurav, that all of this is being remembered again. That long line of civilizational continuity is being established again. Like I said, we were taught Somnath as something forgettable, as a defeat. It was not a defeat. It is something which has been a marker for us, spiritual, civilizational, navigational, geographical, everything. You know that this was a black pagoda through which people navigated in the Arabian Sea, and we had a white pagoda at Puri, which was the navigation in the Bay of Bengal. So you see the entire Indian civilization, the entire Indic civilization has been made with a certain logic, with a certain science behind it, which we tend to forget. And that science involves spirituality, it involves our beliefs, it involves the entire land and the people. So it's very important for future generations not to be like my generation. I knew nothing about the Kashmiri leader who fought, the Kashmiri king who fought with Ghazni, or
King
the
Lalitaditya
whole
Muktipada, for
coalition
example.
of northern kings who fought with him. It was taught
Yes.
simply as a defeat, whereas it was a fight back, it was a resistance. And in fact, Mahmud Ghazni barely escaped with his life and the loot when that northern coalition attacked him. So it was not some glorious thing which he did. He came as a looter, as a dacoit. He fought, he barely won. And if you read the real historical treatises, you will realize that he just escaped with his life and the loot. But here he was presented to us as this great marauder, invader, and conqueror of India. So this has to change, and this will change for the future generations when leaders like the Prime Minister showcase this in front of us, showcase this in front of the entire country and the world, and
Okay.
especially young people, to take pride in the past, to understand the
Let
past,
me take
and
that
to
thought.
go forward.
Yes, let me take that thought to Advaita. I think we have the connection back with her. Sumedha ji had a very interesting point, Advaita, that for many in our country, Somnath was a symbol of defeat. And Somnath is anything but a symbol of defeat. It's the symbol of resistance, of resurgence. But were we taught our history in a certain way? Ayodhya for a very long time was just a small temple town and not that place of civilizational glory that an effort is being made to make it out to be once again. And Somnath, is that change happening?
Gaurav, this was a project of collective gaslighting. We're familiar with the term now, but there is a psychological term for it. It's called gaslighting. And we were all subjected to it through our textbook, through popular discourse, through political action, or rather inaction. This was definitely one of the earliest propaganda tools that were employed by the state when India gained independence. And one of those things was, okay, some of it was also practical because we had emerged from a communal partition wherein Muslims wanted their own state and Hindus signed up for a secular state. So it was important in practical terms that actual Hindu real grievance over millennia was not acknowledged. So there was some sort of a practical approach to it. But that approach, I think, ran too far and for too long. And as a result of which, we then became a culture and a generation that was, and subsequent generations that was completely deracinated from Indian thought and Indian civilization. We knew more about the Enlightenment in Europe than we knew about Adi Shankaracharya and his debates. If we look at what the schools taught, if you were exposed to this in your own family home, you probably heard of it. But otherwise, there was such a bias even in our education system that kept moving us away from our roots, from our intellectual heritage, not only our civilizational or religious heritage, but from our intellectual heritage, which is rooted in deep Vedic thought and analysis and discourse and debate. And what a loss that was. So this was really something that needed to be corrected very importantly, especially at a time now when nations are defining themselves, be it in Europe, be it even in the United States or everywhere else in the world. We're discovering what it means to be who we are, and that is a moment in history that doesn't come very often to nations and to the world in general, because often people define who they are by getting into wars with other countries. But I think we have an opportunity here to silence the war within, which is who we are and what we've been
Minister
told we
wrote,
are. And I think that's so
absolutely,
important.
Somnath continues to stand tall and inspire despite attacks and immense adversity over 1,000 years. That actually symbolizes Indian resilience, the trust in Indian culture and faith. But Sumedha ji, was an effort made to ensure that we do not even learn about our culture, about our faith, about our religion in the name of secularism. And when the BJP today argues that the Congress party or, independent India's first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he was not in favor of top constitutional authorities being at the temple to what you see now, that big change, that transition that is happening. In your view, does it come with inherent, threats that, as many argue, we could become a Hindu Pakistan, as some elements argue, Sumedha ji?
No, no, not at all. This can never happen because Islam is not Hinduism. The whole idea of Hinduism is to bring people together. The whole idea of Sanatan Dharma is to bring people together. We don't have the concept of in and out, kafir and
भव्य सोमनाथ मंदिर का जो प्रांगण है
Musalman. We don't have those concepts. So for all those people who are talking of Hindu Pakistan, it is nothing but rubbish, because we are Sanatan Dharmis who have believed for thousands of years in gathering people together. Look at what we are today. Look at the Indian subcontinent and what has been done during the Sindhu Saraswati civilization and later. A whole subcontinent was woven together into a spiritual whole. It was woven together later into a political whole. So it is just not possible. It is apples and oranges to try
Okay.
to call India as a Hindu Pakistan. In fact, Advaita just spoke of the practicality of not talking of Hindu grievances in 1947. Correct? That was perhaps the thinking, perhaps not, but it was absolutely wrong, because when you let grievances fester, when you let Hindus feel decade after decade, year after year, that their concerns are not being heard, that their spirituality and their faith is being squashed and it is being pushed out of sight, there is bound to be a lot of anger. And you can see that anger. It's just a good thing that Hindus express their anger through legal means. It is through legal means that the Ram Mandir was actually consecrated and that we worship over there.
Right.
Otherwise, if Hindu anger was not expressed through legal means, you would have seen a very dangerous situation in this country. So, why is
No,
this country
and
never going to
perhaps
be Hindu Pakistan? Because
that's a
Hindus
good
never
point.
express their anger in violence.
That's a very good point to make, Advaita. Your thoughts on this to those who say when there is so much open religiosity on the streets, and now you're looking at those images of the Prime Minister's road show right now. For a moment, just look at all the images on your television screen. Uh, those who say that when the head of the government does this, there is the threat that you could become a Hindu Pakistan, Advaita.
There are these are the same people who, don't acknowledge that there are proselytizing religions who convert people, whose part of their mandate is to convert people and do it all the time by legal means, by illegal means, by using subterfuge. It happens all the time. Hindus do not convert people. We do not wish for people to follow our way of life or to have our belief system. All we ask for is respect. And nobody can deny us the right to acknowledge our own civilizational heritage, be it our dharma, be it our religious sites or our cultural sites, which are of, we're an old civilization. And nobody has the right to tell us what we can acknowledge and what we should not acknowledge. And if that
A
makes you
moment,
insecure,
give